Chapter 3376. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Cece, what's wrong? Eldest baby asked. That monster is father, second baby exclaimed. What? The Calabash brothers jumped up. This great demon was actually their father, but father is only at the blood transformation realm. He was at the peak of the 5 changes before. Even if he breaks through the limit this time, he'll only be at the 6 changes, sixth baby said. Although the 6 changes is extraordinary, there have been many geniuses who have reached the 6 changes since ancient times. I've never heard of such a phenomenon occurring in heaven and earth. Second baby, are you seeing things? Eldest baby asked suspiciously. Impossible. Second baby was very sure. She was very confident in her eye sorcery. Because his father. Third baby said matter-of-factly. How could an ordinary person be her father? Deep within the palace, an old man in eunuch attire slowly walked out. His face was full of wrinkles, and it was hard to tell how old he was. Ah! He sighed softly and looked up at the sky. His eyes, which had been closed tightly, suddenly opened. 2 shocking bolts of lightning flashed in his eyes, as if they could tear through the dark sky. These are troubled times, the old eunuch said. His Majesty is in seclusion, but so many things have suddenly happened. Not only are the demons restless, but there's also a phenomenon occurring in heaven and earth. Look at this phenomenon. Eh? The old eunuch exclaimed. The wrinkles on his face suddenly disappeared, revealing a face that was not considered handsome, but full of dominance. This is the resonance of heaven and earth. Who can obtain the recognition of heaven and earth? Even if His Majesty has the ability to rule the world, he has never obtained the recognition of heaven and earth. Could it be that the innate divine body has appeared? The innate divine body is born from the fate of heaven and earth. It has supernatural powers that ordinary people cannot imagine. The first prince has the azure dipper celestial body. When he was born, there was indeed a phenomenon, but it was far from this scale. It can only be seen in the palace, and it lasts for a very short time. If the innate divine body is born, then the level of the innate divine body must be far higher than the first prince's. The innate divine body is born? Jin Sanyin looked up at the sky and frowned. Now, the world's environment has yet to recover, but a divine physique with the world's fate has actually descended. I have to say, this is really ironic. He shook his head. However, the innate divine body is of great importance. If my Jin family obtains it, it will take at most 20 years to cultivate it well. I have a feeling that the world's recovery is getting faster and faster after a short pause. If our Jin family has a god body, we can use this chance to grow fast. Maybe we can dominate the universe in the future. Immediately mobilize the family's forces to find the divine body's whereabout. Although it is possible to form a divine body after birth, it is still inferior to the innate divine body. The heavens want our Jin family to prosper. A heaven and earth phenomenon? The fourth prince frowned. There are only 2 possibilities. One is that someone has achieved amazing achievements, causing the heavens and earth to sense it. The other is that a carnate divine body has appeared. This sky is filled with gods and devils. They were all powerful beings of the heavenly ocean star who obtained the recognition of heaven and earth. That's how they were branded into the great Tao of heaven and earth. His eyes became sharp. The great era is coming. I must seize this opportunity to rise. In the future, I will also become a powerful being recognized by heaven and earth. However, if there is a carnate divine body in the human race, it will not be a good thing for us demons in the future. Find this person and bring him back. It is said that the carnate divine body can be used to refine medicine. Consuming it will give me a divine ability. Even if it is not as good as the carnate divine body, it will still greatly increase my strength. Rumble. An earth-shattering change occurred in Ling Han's body. One shackle after another was broken, causing his life level to soar. But at the same time, the number of rainbow fruit was also decreasing. When Ling Han shattered the 4th shackle, the medicinal effect of the last rainbow fruit was also exhausted. However, this rapid evolution was not over yet. If he continued, he would have to consume his own origin, and the most obvious damage would be the reduction of his lifespan. Ling Han clenched his teeth and decided to continue. In theory, according to the time-flow ratio between the Yuan world and the outside world, he was only 2 years old, and after reaching the 7th transformation, his lifespan would be more than 200 years. Thus, losing a bit of lifespan was not a big deal. He was not the Sun Jianfang of the past. Boom, the evolution of his life level continued, but without the rainbow fruit to replenish his life force, Ling Han could only burn his own origin to advance the evolution of his life level. This made him feel extremely weak and hollow, as if he had lost something. Lifespan could not be seen, nor could it be touched. The 5th shackle was broken, but the evolution still did not stop. F***ck, are you trying to kill me? Ling Han was delighted, because the more shackles he broke, the stronger he would become. But the key was that he did not have the treasure fruit of life now, so he could only burn his own origin. Ling Han clenched his teeth and continued. After a long time, the 6th shackle was also broken, and then there was the 7th, and even the 8th. When the 9th shackle was broken, the evolution finally stopped. 9 shackles. Ling Han did not know whether to be happy or cry. He was happy because the evolution of his life level this time was very large, almost equivalent to jumping 2 transformations. But also because of this, his origin should have been very seriously consumed. Perhaps he had lost 30 years of lifespan, or even 50 or 100 years. He was not too worried, because he was about to break through to the extreme bone realm, and once he reached the extreme bone realm, he would gain 50 years of lifespan. Even if he did not have much time left, if he had another 50 years of lifespan, it would be enough for him to reach the inscription realm and the enlightenment realm. He checked his body and found that his blood had not completely turned red, and there was still a faint diamond glow. His life level had increased, but his cultivation had not kept up. He would have to wait until he reached the peak of the 7th transformation before his blood could turn pure red. Wait a minute. Ling Han suddenly realized that he had not seen it with his divine sense, but with his naked eyes. Otherwise, divine sense would not be able to see color. But how was this possible? He raised his hand, and what he saw was a completely normal hand. He did not see any bones, nor did he see the flow of blood. But Ling Han was sure that what he had seen just now was not an illusion. His heart moved, and he concentrated his power in his eyes. Instantly, the world changed. Time seemed to slow down, and he saw a mosquito flapping its wings 10 feet away. Even though it was so far away, and the mosquito was so small, he could still clearly see every pattern on the mosquito's wings. He was excited, and the world immediately returned to normal. Ling Han revealed a look of surprise. He had cultivated a supernatural power. It was a little like second baby's eye technique. After activating it, he could see the details clearly, and even transcend time. However, he was not as strong as second baby yet, but Ling Han believed that this was a growth type. In the future, as his cultivation level increased, it would become stronger and stronger. This was an ability that was activated after reaching the 7th transformation. Ling Han laughed out loud. This was great. Whether it was used in battle or to break arrays, it was infinitely useful. He stood up, but he could not help but feel extremely weak, and he almost sat on the ground. This was a serious depletion of his life force. He quickly took out a blood-replenishing pill and consumed it. After consuming one, the feeling of weakness was still very strong, and he quickly consumed another one. He came out of seclusion and asked the little servant girl to make a feast, and he wolfed it down. "Hey, father, your hair." Seeing Ling Han come out, the 6 milk babies all jumped over and exclaimed, "What's wrong with my hair?" Ling Han took a mirror and looked at it, but he was surprised. His head was actually full of white hair. Yes, he had consumed too much of his life force, and his hair had turned white overnight. Well, wasn't this prematurely aging? Through the mirror, Ling Han could see that his body was clearly showing weakness. His face clearly looked less than 20 years old, but there was a strong aura of decline. Without the treasure fruit of life to recover, it seemed that his hair would turn white for a while. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3377. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Dad, you're amazing. Second baby came over and said, "Dad, you're amazing." Fourth baby and fifth baby said. Linghan laughed and said, "It's all right." He still didn't know that he had triggered a phenomenon. "Dad, you're so humble. You're so calm even after triggering a phenomenon," second baby said. "Yes." Even the proud third baby nodded. "What?" Linghan was stunned. "What phenomenon? Dad, you don't know at all." The 6 babies shook their heads at the same time. Under Linghan's questioning, he finally knew what was going on. Breaking through to the 7th transformation could trigger a phenomenon. Linghan thought to himself, "Let the truth be buried forever." Other than second baby, who could trace the origin, the others would only think that it was the birth of the innate divine body. No one would suspect him. Once this matter was exposed, he would gain more glory, but it would also attract the covetous eyes of many forces. A person who could trigger a phenomenon, "If not for me, then I'll kill him." This was not an exaggeration. Therefore, before his strength increased, Linghan needed to keep a low profile. Unlike Formation Dao and Alchemy Dao, which were all considered to be supplementary, no matter how astonishing Linghan's achievements in these 2 areas were, it would only make other forces want to recruit him. He could completely take his time, and would not make others feel threatened. Martial art was different. There was only one boss, just like Chen Fengyang who ruled the world. Who dared to go against him? Strength, strength. Linghan's eyes flashed. After breaking through to the 7th transformation, Linghan finally had the right to look down on those of the same cultivation level. Aside from him, there was no one else in Black North Country who could cause a heavenly phenomenon, which proved that he had reached an unprecedented level in the blood transformation tier. "Dad, your origin is seriously damaged." Second baby used his eye sorcery and looked at Linghan carefully. Linghan nodded. Without the treasure fruit of life, he still tore through the 5 shackles. He must have consumed a lot of life origin. "I lost at least 100 years of life," second baby said solemnly. "Also, my Dao foundation is damaged and needs to be repaired as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be big problems in the future." His Dao foundation is damaged. Linghan was shocked. He wasn't afraid of the reduction of his lifespan. After all, he could still live for a long time. There would always be a way to make up for it. However, the damage to his Dao foundation would be serious. "Don't worry. You'll be able to recover if you eat a few more treasured fruits of life," third baby said nonchalantly. "Yes." Second baby nodded. "Moreover, as long as 7th sister is born, she will have a way to solve the problem of daddy's origin being damaged." Linghan was surprised. What kind of abilities did 7th baby have? He first ate a meal, and after a good rest, he couldn't help but be curious about his own strength. After breaking through to the 7th transformation, he knew that he was definitely very strong, but just how strong was he? The strength measuring device definitely could not be used, as it could only measure a strength of 10 million jin. Therefore, Linghan could only use the strength of 1 bone for comparison. He had elder baby spar with him to test his strength. In the end, his strength had already broken through 1 bone, but it hadn't reached 2 bones. His speed had soared to 2 times the speed of sound, but when he used the shuttle steps, he didn't break through 3 times the speed of sound. Instead, it was 2.7 times the speed of sound. This was because the level of the shuttle steps was not high enough. As his cultivation increased, it was less and less helpful to him. Perhaps when he reached the enlightening realm, it would no longer make a difference whether he used the shuttle steps or not. He had to get a new set of movement skills. What surprised Linghan the most was that his mental strength had improved by leaps and bounds. He could now pick up things that weighed more than 100 jin. Because of this sudden improvement, the speed at which he drove the flying sword had reached 6 times the speed of sound. This was enough to make it impossible for a paramount bone realm cultivator to dodge or block even if they could see him. In other words, he could kill a paramount bone realm cultivator in a second. "Daddy, your telekinesis has reached 4 stars. It has already surpassed the realm," 6th baby said. Linghan looked at the mass of air, feeling slightly awkward. Talking to a mass of air, or talking to a mass of air, no matter how he thought about it, it was very awkward. "What's the rating for this 4 stars?" He asked because the fifth prince of the demon clan seemed to have said the same thing about Hong Tian steps. 4 stars of telekinesis corresponds to the engravement realm, 5 stars corresponds to the enlightening realm, and 6 stars corresponds to the mystery-seeking realm, sixth baby explained. So that's how it is. Ling Han thought to himself. If they were ranked according to beginner, intermediate, high, and master levels, then the engravement realm would be the limit. However, the strongest person in the martial art realm was only at the enlightening realm, and the others couldn't reach 5 stars of telekinesis. It was indeed enough to use the intermediate, and high levels. Ling Han shook his head and didn't dwell on it. It was just a title anyway. Just like the illuminating pulse realm, it didn't matter if it was called the upper heaven realm or the 9 heaven realm. He returned to his residence and found out that Mr. Cat from the demon clan had come to challenge him and been defeated by him. Defeated by him. Ling Han looked at the 5 milk babies, who all gave him strange smiles. Okay, it's these guys. Ling Han was surprised. He heard from Lian Shuarong that although Mr. Cat's cultivation was at the extreme bone realm, his battle strength could reach the engravement realm, but now he was defeated by a few milk babies. It seemed that he had underestimated these babies. Ling Han roared from outside. Come out and fight me. Who was it? Ling Han was puzzled. Dad, it's that stupid cat again. Second baby glanced. The layers of walls couldn't block her vision. Mr. Cat was here again. Of course, Mr. Cat was here. Others thought that he was defeated by Ling Han, but only he knew that it wasn't the case at all. So, after he was carried back for a simple treatment, he rested for a day, and then he came back. He didn't even meet the real master before he was defeated and returned to the demon clan dejectedly. He couldn't do it. He was a super genius among the younger generation of the demon clan, and he couldn't afford to lose face like this. Ling Han thought about it and decided to go out and meet this demon clan expert. It just so happened that he had just broken through to the 7th transformation and needed an opponent to test the limits of his spiritual power. Of course, he couldn't really use his killer move against the milk babies. Outside, everyone was watching forcefully. Why do you think the demon clan is so thick-skinned? He was just knocked unconscious and carried away, and now he's here again. Hey, after the 5th prince was defeated last time, isn't the 4th prince here now? This is the tradition. Oh, so the demon clan is so shameless. The people around were discussing, and some were even talking very loudly, completely unafraid of being heard by Mr. Cat. Who asked Mr. Cat to be too arrogant and beat up many people in the academy? Now, naturally, everyone wanted to step on him. Mr. Cat's face was covered in frost. He swore that he would never go in again this time. He would make Ling Han come out and fight him fair and square. He would defeat Ling Han in front of everyone and rebuild the prestige of the demon clan. Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3378. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Cece Creek, the door opened, and a person walked out. He had a head full of grey hair, giving off the feeling that he was an incomparably old man. Who is it? I've never heard of an old servant in the academy, right? However, when everyone saw the face of this white-haired man, they all revealed shocked expressions. It was actually Ling Han. How could that be? Wasn't he supposed to be a heroic young man? I know, he definitely forcefully broke through, injuring his foundation. Someone said. Yes, that's the only explanation. If you hurt your foundation, your hair will turn white overnight. It's over. I heard that he forcefully broke through during the big hunting match, and now he's doing it again. No wonder he looks so haggard. Sigh, didn't I ruin a good hand? Everyone shook their heads. Some of them felt that it was a pity, while others sneered. If Ling Han really became second in the Hongtian steps, wouldn't he be suppressed to the point where he wouldn't be able to lift his head or straighten his back? Mr. Cat let out a cold smirk as well. So, Ling Han was really in seclusion earlier on. What a pity, that foolish human had dug his own grave. Ling Han, do you dare to duel with me? He asked. Ling Han looked him up and down and said, what qualifications do you have to fight with me? This was full of disdain. Mr. Cat was immediately enraged, but he forcibly suppressed his anger. I'm a super genius of the Yu dynasty, and my talent can be ranked in the top 20 among the youths. I'm not qualified to fight you. Ling Han picked his ear. Barely enough for me to beat you up. Impudent. Mr. Cat could not bear it any longer. Xiao, his figure suddenly shot towards Ling Han. 3 times the speed of sound was terrifying. Ling Han responded by remaining calm. His body didn't move, and he just punched out. Sneered the young master. He had 4 bones, and his battle strength had reached the engravement realm. Would he be afraid of fighting a blood transformation cultivator head-on? Can't even withstand a single blow, he said. He brandished his claw and slashed towards Ling Han, slashing out 5 incomparably fierce streams of energy. Bam! The fist force and the claw force collided, instantly forming a huge collision, and both sides were annihilated. What? Mr. Cat was taken aback, a look of disbelief on his face. Ling Han's strength was actually not much weaker than his own. This human was only at the blood transformation realm. If this was his first time fighting against Ling Han, then he wouldn't mind. He could slowly display his might and be filled with confidence. But now, it was different. He had already lost to Ling Han once, so he had to win beautifully to clear his name. Boom. His blood qi immediately surged as he entered an explosive state. In any case, the demons could stop their eruption at any time. There was only a time limit. Puny human. He once more attacked, reaching 3.5 times the speed of sound. Even blood transformation experts would find it difficult to defend against this attack. It was just too fast. Right now, his strength was comparable to a one-vein cultivator. Whether it was strength or speed, he had the complete upper hand. Was there any possibility of losing? Xiao, at this moment, he suddenly saw a cold light shooting toward him at an astonishing speed. 6 times the speed of sound, right? He was already moving at 4 times the speed of sound, and the cold light was moving at 6 times the speed of sound. Naturally, the speed at which he flew over was indescribably fast. Young Master Cat was shocked. 6 times the speed of sound? What kind of joke was this? Even if he used all his strength, his attack would only reach 4 times the speed of sound. 6 times the speed of sound was too exaggerated, and under relative motion, it was 10 times the speed of sound. Seeing that the cold light was about to reach him, he could only concentrate all his strength on the place where the cold light would hit and take this attack head-on. Pu. Blood splattered, and a small sword had already appeared on young Master Cat's shoulder, all the way to the hilt. Young Master Cat couldn't help but be shocked. His defense was almost useless, and the flying sword had still completely pierced through. And what if Ling Han had not aimed at the shoulder, but the heart? Would he still be alive now? No matter how thick-skinned young Master Cat was, he had to admit that he had lost, and this was because Ling Han had not wanted to kill him. Otherwise, he would already be dead. Leave the sword and go, Ling Han said lightly. He did not have any deep hatred with the demons, and he did not want to kill them all. Young Master Cat's expression changed again and again. He had lost very unjustly. He had not expected Ling Han to have such a move. 4-star telekinesis. He gritted his teeth. And you can even manipulate objects. I really underestimated you. If he had known that Ling Han was a telekinesis master, he would never have thought of fighting Ling Han in close combat. He would have just kept a distance and slowly attacked. There was no other way. Although all the demons were talented and could almost all use high-level energy, in fact, there were very few telekinesis masters. Their talents were all in their physique, and they were born strong. Heaven was fair, and he could not take advantage of everything, right? Therefore, young Master Cat did not expect Ling Han to be able to manipulate objects with telekinesis. As a result, he was defeated in one move. He pulled out the small sword. Puff, blood spurted out, but he did not feel anything. He threw the small sword on the ground, turned around, and flew away. He had no excuse for losing twice. Ling Han! Ling Han! Ling Han! The students were all cheering. They had not even seen the first battle, and young Master Cat had suddenly been defeated. Now that they had seen this battle with their own eyes, they were naturally excited. Although, they had not seen the battle clearly. They had only seen young Master Cat suddenly being struck by a sword. In any case, Ling Han was very awesome. TMPH, what's there to be proud of? He lost his source twice. It's impossible for him to break through to the ultimate bone realm. Someone was jealous and made sarcastic remarks. Scram. If you can defeat the demon race, even if you are paralyzed after the battle, I will admire you for the rest of my life. This person was immediately retorted. This was the pride of a race, and you dared to pour cold water on it. Did you have a conscience? That's right. In order to defeat the demon race, Ling Han did not hesitate to consume his source to break through. How great is that? You dare to slander him? Beat this bastard to death. The crowd was enraged, and they all rushed towards that person. Soon, that person was drowned. Meanwhile, Ling Han was dazed. He wasn't that great. What did his desire to become strong have to do with the demon race? Whatever, he was too lazy to explain. Ling Han smiled at the crowd and returned to his room. The problem now was that he had to find the life fruit. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't dare break through to the ultimate bone realm. That would really be courting death. Ling Han's battle once more caused a huge commotion in the capital. Previously, the demon race had been filled with confidence, thinking that Yuan Ying would be able to stop Hong Tianbiyu, and young Master Cat would be able to perfectly deal with Ling Han. That was proof that the demon race was stronger than the human race. But even with the advantage of an entire realm, young Master Cat had still been miserably defeated by Ling Han. How could the demon race endure that? But a day later, the demon race's Yuan Ying sent word to Ling Han that as long as Ling Han could endure his attacks for 10 seconds, it would be considered Ling Han's victory. This news once more caused a huge commotion. An engravement realm expert was actually challenging a blood transformation realm expert. Did he still have any shame? Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3380. BQG 6, CC BQG 6. CC Ling Han smiled faintly. Cut the crap. Did you bring the fruit of life? Yuan Ying was immediately angered. What kind of attitude was that? You've never seen the world before. It's just some fruit of life. They're nothing to us demons, said the fourth prince. With a wave of his hand, a basket filled with fruit of life appeared on the ground. There were at least 40 of them. However, only the fourth prince knew that he could only take out so many fruit of life. After all, the fruit of life was much rarer than the fruit of life that could increase one's cultivation. But in order to show off the demon race's bountiful resources, he naturally played it down. Ling Han smiled. Very good, he could finally scam them. Let's fight, said Yuan Ying. Ling Han waved his hand. What's the rush? It's not like I'm in a hurry to reincarnate. Did this brat know how to speak human language? Why did he feel like he was about to die from anger? Yuan Ying's chest heaved. He swore that he wouldn't give Ling Han a chance to surrender. He would definitely kill him. Ling Han smiled. I don't know if you're strong or weak. I'll have to see if you're qualified to fight me first. Damn. Everyone was speechless. This guy had the power of an awakening realm cultivator. How was he qualified to fight him? Here, I have a pig here. If you can kill it within 10 seconds, I'll fight with you, Ling Han said to Yuan Ying as he picked up the perverted pig from the arms of the little female attendant. This was a naked humiliation. Yuan Ying couldn't take it anymore. His yellow hair stood on end. He really wanted to kill someone right now. Come here, he said coldly. Ling Han shook his head. You don't dare. Yuan Ying's chest heaved up and down. After a while, he said, fine, I'll see how many crooked tricks you have up your sleeve today. 5 fruit of life. Don't forget, Ling Han said to the fourth prince. F***ck, you really dare to ask? A pig's life is worth 5 treasure fruits of life. The fourth prince of the demon race instantly had the urge to strangle Ling Han to death. However, after thinking about it, this pig would definitely be punched to death by Yuan Ying, so it didn't matter. All right. He took out 5 life-treasured fruits, placed them on a jade plate, and placed them on the ground. Ling Han smiled. Very good, just like that, he had earned 5 treasure fruits of life. He raised his hand, and as the pig squealed, it fell to the ground with a thud. Yuan Ying snorted and casually threw a punch at the fat pig. How could a weakling like Fat Pig dodge it? It was immediately hit, but Fat Pig's defense was invincible. This attack did not cause any damage to it at all. It only made it roll over a few times. Gu. The fat pig was infuriated. You, a lion mantis that only possessed a tiny bit of a divine beast's bloodline, actually dared to attack this Uncle Pig. What? Everyone was startled. No matter how casual Yuan Ying had been, his attack should have been enough to kill a pig hundreds of times over. But it hadn't injured the pig in the slightest. Strange. Even Yuan Ying was startled. He naturally knew just how much power his attack had contained. Let alone a pig, even a blood transformation expert would be instantly killed. Strange. 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds left, said Ling Han. He had been so shocked that he'd forgotten about the bet. Yuan Ying hurriedly attacked the fat pig once more. Bang, bang, bang. The fat pig was sent flying, squealing in fury. But those attacks hadn't injured it in the slightest. 10 seconds passed in an instant. The fat pig was still safe and sound. Many thanks for your patronage. Ling Han smiled and picked up the 5 treasure fruits of life. Yuan Ying was speechless. He was comparable to an awakening expert, but he was actually unable to injure a seemingly ordinary pig. How could he endure this? What else could he say? Do you still want to bet? Asked Ling Han. Of course, said Yuan Ying. He definitely didn't believe that Ling Han could be like this pig. Ling Han looked at the 4th prince. 5 treasure fruits of life, please. The 4th prince's mouth twitched. Why did it feel like Ling Han was here to scam the treasure fruits of life? But could he admit defeat now? He snorted and took out 5 treasure fruits, placing them on the jade plate once more. Ling Han, come and fight, said Yuan Ying. He had never wanted to beat up a puny blood transformation expert so much. Ling Han was simply too hateful. Ling Han snickered and said, "Third baby, go." Third baby was clearly very dissatisfied. A stupid demon actually wanted her to personally fight. Sigh. Seeing as she was trying to scam treasures for her father, she'd just do it reluctantly. The little girl clasped her hands behind her back and entered the field. Damn, what a little girl. Everyone felt a little dizzy. A cute little girl actually wanted to fight Yuan Ying. That was too much. Yuan Ying also broke into laughter, and said, Ling Han, are you joking? Stinky 8 freak, you dare look down on me. Third baby was furious. Shio, she rushed out. Huh? What? Her rush made everyone's scalps go numb. That was too much. This little girl could actually burst out at twice the speed of sound. Ultimate Bone Realm, a 2 or 3-year-old Ultimate Bone Realm cultivator. Heavens, how could anyone believe that? Yuan Ying's expression turned serious. He was indeed a little shocked at the fact that a 2 or 3-year-old had reached the Ultimate Bone Realm, but the Ultimate Bone Realm was nothing in his eyes. He very casually struck out with his palm. Peng, the wind from the palm hit. Third baby's body tilted slightly, but she was not injured at all. In terms of combat ability, third baby was not the strongest among the 6 children, but in terms of defense, she was definitely number 1. Hiss, everyone gasped, and they felt that this day was simply like a dream. A little pink pig and a little baby had actually taken on the combat ability of an awakening realm cultivator. How could anyone accept this? Yuan Ying no longer dared to look down on third baby. With a loud roar, he gave it his all. If he could not suppress a little baby in 10 seconds, where would his face be? But the problem was, he really could not do anything to third baby. 10 seconds passed quickly, and third baby was unaffected. Ling Han chuckled and walked towards the treasure fruit. He smiled. Thank you for your patronage, thank you for your patronage. He put away the treasure fruit. Now that he had 10, he should be able to repair his Tao foundation. Eat. He did not stand on ceremony. He casually wiped the fruit and began to chew on it. Yuan Ying's face was as black as it could get. He clearly had the power to sweep through Xianbei country, but he'd been defeated by a piglet and a milk baby. The gap was so huge that he couldn't speak. Depressing, extremely depressing. Ling Han smiled. Do you still want to play with me? Come, Yuan Ying said in a low voice. He did not believe that Ling Han could also have an unparalleled defense. You can use any method, right? Ling Han asked again. Up to you, Yuan Ying said lightly. Ling Han looked at the fourth demon prince. Please give me 5 treasure fruits of life. You're at it again. Reading on your phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3381. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC memorize 69 books in 1 second, update fast, free you only care about money. The fourth prince took out another 5 treasure fruits of life and placed them on the jade plate. He endured. This time, it was Ling Han's turn. Unlike the pink pig and milk boy, who would be unpredictable. Therefore, as long as he endured a little longer, Yuan Ying would be able to beat this bastard up. No, kill this bastard. A mere blood transformation realm cultivator would not have any accidents, even if he defeated Mr. Cat. Yuan Ying also took a look and turned back. Can we fight now? Ling Han waved his hand. Pa. Instantly, 33 formation bases appeared on the ground. Come on. Formation, Yuan Ying sneered. He had long understood that the current human formation masters were at most at the so-called Grandmaster level. The formations they set up were at most comparable to the engraved realm. Yes, he was indeed at the engraved realm, but his combat power was at the enlightened realm. What formation could stop him? Humph, he would be able to destroy the formation with a single move, and then defeat and kill Ling Han as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. He thought. After being toyed with by Ling Han over and over again, killing intent had already risen in his heart. He charged out, wanting to destroy the formation in the most domineering manner in one go, and crush Ling Han into pieces. But when he rushed into the formation, he immediately realized that something was wrong. A terrifying force immediately slowed him down. Then, his waist involuntarily bent down. Yuan Ying's expression changed. This force was too terrifying. One had to know that this formation was used to suppress the Vajra general. What was the Vajra general's greatest characteristic? The defense of cross-training Vajra was impenetrable. Therefore, since this 33 layers Vajra formation was used to suppress the Vajra general, its destructive power must be at the enlightened realm. Yuan Ying hurriedly used all his strength and immediately resisted the suppression of the formation. His combat power was at the level of the enlightening state. The formation did give him some pressure, but it was not enough to suppress him. Boom, boom, boom. He continued to attack, unleashing violent attacks. In just a few attacks, all of the spell formation bases were trembling, and then one of them flew up into the air. Instantly, the power of the spell formation disappeared. Yuan Ying rushed out and punched at Ling Han. 24 seconds, Ling Han said faintly, not dodging. Yuan Ying came to an abrupt stop. 24 seconds. He had used 24 seconds to break the formation. In other words, Ling Han had lasted more than 10 seconds. He was extremely depressed. Of course, this was not because Ling Han's battle prowess was impressive, but because he felt very wronged. Thanks. Ling Han walked over and put away the 5 treasured fruits of life. He had already eaten a fruit of life, and it was taking effect right now. Waves of life energy were circulating in his body, repairing his Tao foundation. Do you still want to play? Ling Han laughed. Seeing the gloomy faces of Yuan Ying and the fourth prince of the demon race, he smiled and said, I promise I won't lay another formation again. Come on. The fourth prince of the demon race said. If he stopped here, he would really lose face today. He threw out another 5 treasured fruits of life. He didn't believe that Ling Han had any more tricks up his sleeve. Yuan Ying felt a bit embarrassed. He had already failed 3 times. He took a deep breath and looked at Ling Han for a while. This time, he suddenly attacked, slapping at Ling Han. Ling Han stood with his hands behind his back, showing no intention of dodging or blocking. Courting death. Yuan Ying sneered. If he let him attack, even an enlightening cultivator wouldn't be able to take more than a few moves from him. Do you think you're a secret-seeking cultivator? Boom, the palm landed. Oh no. How can he take it? Is Ling Han looking for death? Everyone shook their heads. He was really showing off too much. What? But in the next instant, everyone's mouths were wide open in shock. A golden light shone from Ling Han's body, turning into a shield that protected him and withstood Yuan Ying's attack. How was this possible? Wasn't Ling Han only at the blood transformation realm? Looking at his declining qi and blood, and his white hair, he had obviously used up too much of his life force, which was why he needed the treasured fruit of life. How could a blood transformation realm in such a weakened state withstand an attack as strong as an enlightening realm cultivator's? How could they believe it? Treasure armor. Yuan Ying gritted his teeth. He was the one involved, so he naturally knew that the golden light didn't come from Ling Han's body, but from his clothes. It looked ordinary at first, but now it was different. There were mysterious patterns on it. This was the precipice array. How did he draw it? Using his own blood, Ling Han could use it as the ink of the pinnacle bone tier. Although it still couldn't match the battle prowess of the opening tier, it was more than enough to last for 10 seconds. What he had been preparing for these days was to create the precipice array. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ling Han was still counting down. Yuan Ying roared and attacked Ling Han with all his might. Cracks instantly appeared on the golden shield, but it didn't shatter immediately. Instead, it could hold on for a while. 7, 8, 9, 10. Ling Han counted. Even when he counted to 10, the golden shield still didn't shatter, although it was almost done. But he did hold on for another 10 seconds. The precipice array lived up to its name. Yuan Ying stopped. 10,000 thoughts ran through his mind. Was there such a thing? What kind of lousy opponent was this? He didn't care about strength at all. First he used the array, then he used the treasure armor. Although both could only hold him off temporarily, who asked him to say that it would be enough for Ling Han to hold on for 10 seconds? This was called getting caught in a trap of one's own making. Ling Han laughed. You admit it. F*CKU. Yuan Ying cursed in his heart. But he was at the engravement realm. Did he have the nerve to ask a blood transformation realm cultivator to fight him? How shameless could he be? Ling Han first put away the fruit and then looked at the fourth prince. Do you want to play one last round? The fourth prince's expression was dark. He now knew that Ling Han had come to swindle him out of his treasured life fruits. If he agreed, this fellow would definitely use some strange trick. Do you really think I'm a fool? Ling Han chuckled, and said, how about this? This time, I guarantee that I will only use my own strength. How about no formations, no treasured tools, and no external power? Really? Asked the fourth prince. He really was unwilling to accept that he had been cheated by Ling Han so many times. Of course. Ling Han smiled. But this time the stakes will be a bit higher. You'll have to bet all your remaining treasured life fruits. And if I lose, I'll return everything I won from before to you. The fourth prince was actually a bit hesitant. Ling Han's expression was too confident. Fourth imperial prince, agree to his request, Yuan Ying interrupted. He did not believe that without any external help, Ling Han would be able to last 10 seconds against him. All right. The fourth prince slowly nodded. Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3382. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. Another 10 seconds passed. Everyone looked at Ling Han, and then looked at Yuan Ying. They all felt that it was very unlikely. Ling Han was definitely not an idiot. On the contrary, he was extremely intelligent, and used a lot of tricks. First, he used a pig, then a milk baby, then he used a formation, then a treasured armor, and had already resisted Yuan Ying for 4 seconds. Another 10 seconds didn't seem strange at all. It's different this time. He can't use any tricks and can only rely on his own strength. Resisting for 10 seconds is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He might even lose his life, someone said. Then why is Ling Han provoking him? Someone didn't understand. Maybe he's getting carried away, or maybe he wants to risk it all for the treasured fruit of life. That's true. If there were so many treasured fruits of life in front of me, I'd be willing to risk it all. In the midst of everyone's heated discussion, Yuan Ying looked coldly at Ling Han. Hong, his blood and qi directly boiled. This time, he wanted to kill Ling Han with a thunderous blow. He wanted to tell these puny humans that compared to the Yarrow race, they were far too lacking. Ling Han didn't dare to be careless. His blood qi also boiled. Boom! The power in his body surged, and a faint diamond light appeared. It took the form of a human, like an ancient monarch, exuding a terrifying aura. 5 transformations. Blood qi condensed into a human, but Ling Han hadn't reached the 5 or 6 transformations. He had reached the 7 transformations. Although his blood qi still took the form of a human, its aura far surpassed that of a monarch. Yuan Ying couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. He frowned and didn't attack immediately. Instead, he said, "Blood qi Emperor, you've reached the 6 transformations. 5 transformations was just a human. How could his aura be as terrifying as a monarch's?" Ling Han was slightly surprised. "You have good eyes." Yuan Ying said proudly. "You think you're the only one who's reached the 6 transformations?" It was said that out of 10 people with 20 meridians, only one could reach the 6 transformations. Although this ratio was a bit low, there were actually quite a few people with 20 meridians. There were at least 20 or 30 of them in the capital. Therefore, there were at least 2 or 3 people who had reached the 6 transformations, and a monster like Hong Tianbiyu had definitely crossed it. The demon race was very strong, and their overall level of martial art might even be higher than that of the human race. Therefore, they definitely had more geniuses who had reached the 6 changes. Ling Han chuckled. He wasn't at the 6th transformation, but rather, the 7th transformation. That was a level that no one had ever been able to reach. Of course, he wouldn't take the initiative to say it. It would be better to let everyone think that he had undergone 6 transformations. There was no need for him to be in the limelight. Come. He crooked his finger. Yuan Ying revealed a cruel smile. Personally killing a 6 transformation genius should give him a great sense of accomplishment. Xiao, he suddenly rushed out, and before he arrived, he let out a roar. Ang! Heaven shaking, incomparably terrifying. This was not a simple roar. It carried an incomparably terrifying deterrent force, and its speed far surpassed the transmission of ordinary sound waves. Lion's roar. Ling Han snorted. With a thought, the blood qi condensed into a humanoid figure above his head and rushed towards Yuan Ying. One of the characteristics of the blood transformation tier was that the baleful qi condensed from blood qi had the effect of intimidating one's heart. This naturally had negligible deterrent force towards the engravement tier, but Ling Han was at the 7th transformation, and having cultivated to this tier, he had even caused a heavenly phenomenon. If one were to say that there was nothing special about his baleful qi, even Ling Han himself wouldn't believe it. Hong, the baleful qi rushed out. This was an aura, and from a certain perspective, it was similar to psychokinesis. Its speed was far above the speed of sound, and it arrived first. The blood qi condensed into a humanoid figure punched out, striking towards Yuan Ying. Yuan Ying scoffed. The 6th transformation was Emperor blood qi, and as the baleful qi surged out, there was a crushing aura like that of an emperor. This was indeed very awesome, and even some weaker ultimate bone tier cultivators would be affected. But who was he? Not only was he an engravement tier elite, but he had also cultivated to the 6th transformation. Emperor blood qi, was there a need to be concerned? He directly met the attack. He believed that with this roar, Ling Han would definitely enter a state of dizziness. Then, if he followed up with another attack, he would be able to directly send his opponent on his way. This was the suppression of strength. Hong, a frightening baleful qi assaulted him. Yuan Ying could not help but freeze, and an obviously dumbfounded expression appeared on his face. This baleful qi was too frightening, and even he was affected. How was this possible? How could he possibly be affected? However, Yuan Ying was Yuan Ying, after all. Such a frightening baleful qi only affected him slightly, and he immediately recovered. After all, he was an existence of the engravement tier. 3, 4, 5. Ling Han was counting. Just like this, he had already used up half the time. Yuan Ying smirked coldly. Since he had already suffered once, how could he possibly repeat the same mistake? He tapped his foot again, and peng, he exploded out with 4 times the speed of sound. So fast. Ling Han raised his hand, and xiao, a cold light immediately shot towards Yuan Ying. 6 times the speed of sound. A shocked expression involuntarily flashed across Yuan Ying's face, as if he did not believe that Ling Han could unleash an attack that was 6 times the speed of sound. However, he immediately reacted, opening his mouth, and spitting out a ball of fierce flames. High-level energy. This fierce flame was extremely frightening. When the flying sword passed through it, it was actually forcibly burned until it softened. Though it still struck Yuan Ying's body, it had lost its sharpness, and its power was naturally greatly reduced. Yuan Ying's figure practically did not pause, and he once again charged towards Ling Han. This was only the 6th second. Yuan Ying raised his right fist high, a look of cherishing talent in his eyes. To be able to affect him slightly, and even force him to use his ultimate move, this human brat was indeed not simple. If he were a member of the Yarrow race, Yuan Ying would not mind giving him some guidance, but now, die. His fist descended, merciless. Ling Han gave a long howl, and his figure retreated, his fists swinging repeatedly. Thunder light fist. Xiao, 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 the speed was too fast, and the entire sky was filled with fist imprints. Peng, 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 these fist imprints were the first to meet the lion's roar. Instantly, it was as if they had been compressed, and actually completely changed shape. When the crowd saw this, they could not help but be shocked. So the power of Yuan Ying's roar was actually so terrifying. You can't run, Yuan Ying said with a cold smile. He was 4 times the speed of sound, while Ling Han was only slightly more than twice that. He only needed 1 or 2 seconds to catch up. Ling Han's expression was calm, and his thunder light fist did not stop. 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. The thunder light fist still had some effect on Yuan Ying, but when the 9th second was about to end, Yuan Ying still charged in front of Ling Han, and punched out. This time, Ling Han had nowhere to retreat. Ling Han's pupils contracted, and he had already activated his eye technique. Yuan Ying's attack immediately became incomparably slow, allowing him to see clearly. He immediately punched out with his right fist, and struck at the weakest point of Yuan Ying's attack. Demon Monkey Fist, frequency attack, 30 stacks, no, 40 stacks. After advancing to the 7th change, he finally had a great breakthrough in the use of the Demon Monkey Fist. Boom, a terrifying demon monkey appeared, towering between heaven and earth, savage and ruthless. Yuan Ying instantly revealed an expression of shock. What? Ling Han could actually use such a terrifying fist technique. Moreover, he had even manifested the form of an ancient demon monkey. Reading on mobile phones is more refreshing. Chapter 3384. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Now, in addition to the heated discussion about Ling Han blocking Yuan Ying for 10 seconds, everyone in the capital was curious about Zhu Qi's identity. Such a strong man was willing to stay in the palace and be a eunuch. His Majesty was too wise and powerful. Ling Han finally returned to the academy. He closed the door and refused to see anyone. He needed to repair his Taoist foundation. Second baby, can you see that old woman? Oh no, that old man Zhu's cultivation? Ling Han asked casually. He was also very curious about Zhu Qi's cultivation. He almost called him an old eunuch, but he wanted to set an example. How could he say such a thing? That old eunuch is from the secret realm, second baby answered. Ling Han couldn't help but sigh. He purposely stopped the word old eunuch. He didn't expect that this little girl didn't need him to teach her bad things at all. What a failure. He didn't want to think about the education of these children. If he wanted to swear, then so be it. It was fine as long as he didn't change his principles. Strange. Why was a strong man from the secret realm willing to be an old eunuch? Look, the 4 marshals and senior grand tutor Hong were so powerful. Why was Zhu Qi willing to hide his name and even cripple one of his legs? Ling Han shook his head and didn't think about it anymore. He took out the treasure fruit of life and continued to eat it to repair his Taoist foundation. After eating 7 fruits in a row, second baby finally nodded and said that his Taoist foundation had been restored. Ling Han was relieved. The white hair only affected his appearance, which he didn't care about. The damage to his Taoist foundation was fatal. It would affect his future. He still had some internal losses, so he continued to eat the treasure fruit of life. After eating another 5, his spirit was finally restored to its peak. Looking in the mirror, he saw that his hair had returned to its black color. There was a kind of flowing light flashing, which made him look extremely powerful. Handsome. Ling Han smiled with satisfaction. He should be completely recovered. Second baby gave him a detailed examination and said, "Father, you still lost about 50 years of life. This is something that even the treasure fruit of life can't repair." Ling Han nodded. Although he had repaired it in time, it was impossible for a broken bottle to be flawless no matter how he glued it back together. He could afford to lose 50 years. At most, he would not break through like this in the future. His next goal was to rush to the peak of the 7 transformations, then break through the extreme bone and embark on a new journey. Unfortunately, he only had the treasure fruit of life with him. He had already eaten all the other treasure fruits, so he could only rely on pills and formations to speed up his cultivation. In fact, this was not considered slow, but Ling Han was already used to the rapid improvement of heavenly treasures. Returning to the rhythm of elixirs and array formations, he naturally felt that the progress was slow. Actually, this was also good. Cultivation should be done step by step. "Father. Father." 6th baby ran over. Of course, his voice was not visible. "What's wrong?" Ling Han asked. "7th baby has been born," 6th baby said. Ling Han immediately stood up. This guy who was so lazy that he was late to the world had finally come out. He ran over and saw that the last bottle gourd had indeed opened. A little baby crawled out, but it was only halfway through when it hung there. Its upper body was sticking out, but its lower body was still in the bottle gourd. "What's going on?" Ling Han asked. The other 5 babies were all here. "She fell asleep again," eldest baby said helplessly. That's fine too." Ling Han imagined this scene. 7th baby struggled to open the bottle gourd and finally came out. But after climbing halfway, she realized that since she had already come out, there was no hurry. She might as well sleep again. Then, she decisively began to sleep again. Ling Han felt like he was going crazy. How lazy was this 7th baby? He went over and grabbed 7th baby. He saw that this baby was also a beautiful mess. He was the kind of baby that would make people want to dig out their hearts and lungs with just one look. But he was so lazy that it was a terminal illness. Pa Ling Han slapped his butt. "Huh." He was surprised to find that the power of this slap was absorbed. As long as the power doesn't exceed the limit, 7th baby can absorb it, 2nd baby explained. "A special ability for lazy people," 3rd baby commented, still cold and aloof. Ling Han smiled and put 7th baby down. This ability to absorb any kind of power was indeed the most practical ability for lazy people. He couldn't wake it up no matter how much he called it. He planned to study Grandmaster-level matrices and elixirs. Now that his mentality had increased, his complementary abilities had to keep up. Bang, bang, bang. But his butt hadn't even warmed up when someone knocked on the door. Who was knocking on the door so urgently? He went out to open the door and saw 2 armored officers standing at the door. What was going on? "Ling Han," one of the officers asked. "That's right." Ling Han nodded. "Come with us. Senior Grand Tutor Hong has summoned you." The 2 officers looked cold and businesslike. Senior Grand Tutor Hong had summoned him. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come with us." Seeing that Ling Han was still hesitating, one of the officers suddenly showed an impatient expression. Ling Han was displeased and said, "Am I a criminal?" The other officer said proudly, "Senior Grand Tutor Hong has summoned you. How dare you make him wait?" "Haha, if Senior Grand Tutor Hong has summoned me, of course I will go pay my respects," Ling Han said lightly. "But I'm not a criminal. Can't I make preparations?" "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and go." One of the officers reached out to grab Ling Han. Ling Han shook his head. This person definitely didn't know his specific identity, or else he wouldn't have done this. He just brushed lightly, and the officer was pushed back. How dare you attack a soldier of the Empire? The officer was angry and embarrassed. Ling Han had dared to attack him, and he wasn't a match at all. You're so careless. It's good enough that I didn't hit you, Ling Han said lightly. He called the little servant girl over, and after giving her some instructions, he said to the two officers, "Let's go." The two officers looked at him with dissatisfaction. This person was too arrogant. He dared to make them and Senior Grand Tutor Hong wait for so long. Just wait and see. They couldn't do anything about it. After seeing Senior Grand Tutor Hong, could he still be so arrogant? Under the guidance of the two officers, Ling Han arrived at the Hong residence. Hong Tianbu had walked out of this place, becoming a heaven-suppressing monster with an illustrious reputation. Ling Han paused for a moment before starting again. The two officers looked at each other and smiled, thinking that Ling Han was finally afraid. This was natural. The Hong residence was a dignified place second only to the Imperial Palace. It had the senior Grand Tutor and an engravement realm expert. Ling Han followed the two into the Hong residence, and after a few turns, he finally arrived outside a study. An officer knocked on the door and said respectfully, "Sir, I've brought Ling Han here. Come in." A voice came from inside. The officer pushed the door open and raised his chin at Ling Han, indicating for him to enter. Ling Han smiled and walked in. Behind him, the two military officers closed the door again and stood solemnly on both sides, as if they were guarding the door. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3385. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. This was a study. Other than rows of bookshelves, there was also a desk, and Senior Tutor Hong was sitting behind it. Senior Tutor Hong. Ling Han cupped his fists. Senior Tutor Hong raised his head to look at Ling Han. "A few days ago, did you go to the Eternal Moon ancient ruins?" Ling Han's heart jumped. "Here it comes." He nodded. "I did." Senior Tutor Hong stared at him. "I just received news that you killed Jining City Lord Yu Yi. Is that true?" "That's right, it's true." Ling Han nodded again. "Good, since you've admitted it, there's nothing more to say. According to the laws of the Empire, anyone who kills an official of the Empire will be executed," Senior Tutor Hong said coldly. What did he mean by there was nothing more to say? Ling Han laughed. "Lord, I have something to say." "What do you want to say? Are you going back on your word?" Senior Tutor Hong asked. "The laws of the Empire also say that in the ancient ruins, everyone is an ordinary treasure seeker. Even the princes are no different from the commoners." Ling Han continued, "I did indeed kill Yu Yi, but at that time, he wasn't the lord of Jining City. He was just an ordinary explorer. Furthermore, if you really want to punish me, it should be the Grand Council Elder. Isn't Lord Hong's hand stretching too far?" Senior Tutor Hong almost flipped the table. Who was he? Before the demon race had appeared, he was the strongest existence below the Saint Emperor. The only people who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him were the four marshals, the Grand Council Elder Yang Bai, and a few others. Now, the four marshals and the others could only stand on equal footing with him. It was just that a few of the princes who were ranked at the top had suddenly soared to the sky, their battle strength reaching the opening realm. Even so, how could a mere blood transformation have the right to be so impudent in front of him? "How dare you!" he shouted. Bang! The door was also pushed open. The two officers held their weapons and aimed them at Ling Han. Ling Han smiled calmly and asked, "My lord, what did I say wrong? I really don't have the power to enforce the law." Grand Tutor Hong waved his hand at the two officers, indicating for them to leave. When the door closed again, he said, "However, as the Grand Tutor of the Empire, can't I even ask?" Of course the Grand Preceptor asked, but this one also answered very clearly. Ling Han said, "Neither servile nor overbearing." "Also, did you kill Hong Tai Chen?" Senior Tutor Hong's expression turned severe. Ling Han shrugged. "What Hong Tai Chen?" Senior Tutor Hong stared at him as if he wanted to see through his body and into his heart. "It's fine. I'll lock you up in prison and torture you. I believe you will tell me." Instantly, a ball of fury rose in Ling Han's heart. If you want to torture me, then torture me. He turned on the optical computer and showed the ugly faces of Yu Yi's family, then said, I just released this video. You. Senior tutor Hong was enraged. This brat actually dared to do something in front of him. He could see clearly that Yu Yi's family had indeed gone overboard. They were practically forcing Ling Han to start a massacre. Who could they blame for this? There were no princes or generals in the historical site, only ordinary adventurers. This was what the Saint Emperor had personally said, and it was written in the law. He snorted. You killed the Empire's city lord. How can we believe your one-sided story? Men. The door opened again, and the two officers walked in. Take this person to prison, Senior Tutor Hong said. He knew that Ling Han was extremely powerful and wasn't someone these two officers could fight against. However, he wasn't worried. It would be best if Ling Han really injured someone and escaped. That would be a huge crime for Ling Han. Ling Han smiled. Don't think that he was only in his 20s, he was an old monster who had lived for countless years. How could he not see through Senior Tutor Hong's intentions? He didn't resist at all and left with the two officers. At this time, he didn't try to fight back. Creak, the door closed again. Senior Tutor Hong revealed a trace of killing intent. This youth was too monstrous and had reached the level of threatening Hong Tianbu. He definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. He would use this chance to get rid of this youth. Ling Han obediently went to the imperial prison under the escort of the two officers. MPH, who asked you to be so arrogant? You really are an idiot to dare oppose Senior Tutor Hong, the two officers sneered. A thought flashed through Ling Han's mind. Pa, a rock flew out from behind, smashing towards the two officers. Aya! The two officers let out miserable cries. They were only at the blood transformation realm, so how could they defend against Ling Han's psychokinesis attack? The two of them staggered. Luckily, Ling Han had controlled his strength. Otherwise, even if it was a blunt rock, it would still be fatal if it was smashed at high speed. Who was sneak attacking them? The two of them stopped and looked behind them. However, the street was deserted, and there wasn't anyone there. How strange. Ling Han couldn't help but laugh. These two were like foxes borrowing the tiger's might. How could he not teach them a lesson? What are you laughing at? The two of them couldn't find the sneak attacker, so they shouted at Ling Han in embarrassment. They didn't know that the person in front of them was the culprit. Ling Han said unhurriedly, the gods are watching. Be careful of being punished by the heavens for being disrespectful to me. He, who do you think you are? One of the officers sneered. You think you're amazing just because you're a student of Emperor Academy? You're just lucky. In the past, a commoner like you wouldn't even have the right to enter the academy. The other officer also started to look down on him. Ling Han shook his head. Xiao, two more small rocks flew into the air and smashed towards the backs of the two officers. Peng, under the high speed, the impact of the two rocks was so powerful that they immediately smashed the two officers to the ground. The two of them couldn't help but be shocked. Just who was attacking them? It was impossible for Ling Han. First, they were facing each other. How could they attack from behind? Second, they hadn't seen Ling Han make a move. Could it be that there was really a ghost? If not, how could such a strange thing be explained? To their horror, the two rocks on the ground floated into the air and then flew towards them. Peng, the two of them were smashed to the ground again. Several of their teeth fell out. If it was Shenyuan Dinghua and the others, then they would definitely have guessed that there was a spiritual power master nearby who could use his mind to move objects. But to these two officers, their knowledge was limited. How could they know so much? They were trembling with fear. Something that was beyond common sense, in their eyes, was naturally related to gods and ghosts. You saw it, right? The two of them asked Ling Han. What did I see? Ling Han pretended to be surprised. Didn't you see such a big rock flying? The two of them were going crazy. What rock? Ling Han felt that his acting skills were quite good. There was really a ghost. There was definitely a ghost. Otherwise, how could Ling Han not have seen it? The two of them looked up at the sky. Was there really a god above their heads? Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3386. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Cece, let's go. What are you waiting for? Ling Han said, striding forward. The two officers gritted their teeth. Were they the ones escorting Ling Han, or was Ling Han the one escorting them? The two were stunned for a moment before realizing that they had to chase after Ling Han. After walking for another 20 minutes, they arrived at the Imperial prison. Stop. Of course, the Imperial prison was heavily guarded. Those who could be locked up here were not nobodies. Without status, they could not be locked up even if they wanted to. Who are you? A guard walked out. Ling Han smiled and said, "Oh, I'm here on Grandmaster Hong's orders to send someone to the Imperial prison." Grand Tutor Hong. The guard gave an "oh" and asked, "Where is he?" "It's me." Ling Han pointed at himself. The guard almost spat out his saliva. "Look at you, you don't look like you came to the Imperial prison. How can you be so calm? Look, the two soldiers behind you are cowering in fear. They look exactly like your subordinates. Could they be the ones escorting you?" "Don't joke," he said. Ling Han's expression also turned serious. "I'm not joking." "Is that so?" The guard looked at the two officers. "Indeed." The two officers nodded, but they were still worried about ghosts and gods. They shrunk their heads in fear. "Where's the order?" the guard asked. One of the officers showed the order and handed it to the guard. The guard read it carefully, and his expression became even more strange. It was true. Ling Han was the person who was going to be sent to the Imperial prison. But the problem was, who could be so relaxed when faced with such a thing, as if it was a holiday? "Then let's go through the procedures first." The guard nodded. After a set of procedures, Ling Han was officially sent to the Imperial prison. However, the Imperial prison was different from ordinary prisons. The people here could be executed the next day, and their entire clan would be buried with them. But they could also be released immediately and promoted to nobility. Therefore, Ling Han's belongings were not confiscated. If Ling Han's belongings were confiscated, he would definitely resist. Because at that time, if someone gave him another gourd, who could he reason with? However, his photon computer had been removed, preventing him from contacting the outside world. Ling Han didn't care because Sixth Baby was always with him. "Dad, I'll call Big Baby and the rest over. Let's tear down this prison together and destroy this Imperial capital," Sixth Baby said excitedly. She was not angry about the fact that Ling Han had been locked up. She was only excited to fight. F***ck, what exactly did these milk babies experience in the gourd? Could they not be so violent? Although Ling Han couldn't see Sixth Baby's expression, he was sure that he was so excited that his face was red. Sigh, raising so many children is really stressful. He hurriedly said, "No need, no need. Now, no, tomorrow, go to the headquarters of the Formation Path and the Alchemy Path respectively. Find the presidents and leave them a message. No fighting." Sixth Baby was instantly disappointed. "You'll have to beat me up in the future." Ling Han could only promise. Only then did Sixth Baby regain her spirits and run away. Ling Han was calm. He believed that Senior Grand Tutor Hong's target was not as simple as Yu Yi or Hong Tai-chen. He wanted to trample on him until he was beyond redemption. In this way, he naturally wouldn't be able to threaten Hong Tian-Bu. The Hong family, oh Hong family. Was there still no way to avoid a fight? Ling Han smiled faintly. Along the way, he had never been afraid of anyone. Originally, he had wanted to compete fairly with Hong Tian-Bu. For geniuses like him, only with a strong competitor would they be able to stimulate a stronger fighting spirit. Otherwise, how could the rest of them burn with such mediocre fighting spirit? However, since Senior Grand Tutor Hong had broken the rules first, then he would fight with the Hong family. The news of Ling Han being sent to the Imperial prison quickly spread within the corresponding range. Killing the Empire's city lord was a huge crime, and it was immediately reported to Yang Bai. Then, as the news spread through the grapevine, it spread like wildfire among the circle of rich second generations in the Imperial capital. However, this matter was too sensitive. Yang Bai immediately ordered that no one was allowed to visit him. He would choose a day to personally conduct the trial. Early the next morning, Ling Han practiced as usual. He wouldn't give up just because he was locked up. After half an hour, he slowly called it a day. After a while, he heard footsteps. At first, he thought that it was the prison guards delivering food, but the footsteps stopped when they reached his cell. There was no more movement. Ling Han opened his eyes and looked at the person. It was a young man. He looked quite handsome, had a slender figure, and exuded confidence and arrogance. Ling Han glanced at him, then closed his eyes again. Acting cool in front of him? Ha ha. The young man couldn't help but be stunned. Why are you like this? Do you know how many people can enter the imperial prison now? Do you know how much energy is needed? When you see me, you shouldn't be so agitated and ask for my identity. Let me take my time and force you. But Ling Han's reaction directly caused his aura to plummet to the point where not even the slightest bit remained. Ahem. He cleared his throat to attract Ling Han's attention. This young master is Jin Shaojian. Oh. Ling Han nodded. You're like this? How can you not react after a single O? Jin Shaojian immediately felt the urge to go crazy. Ling Han clearly hadn't hit him, scolded him, or looked down on him, but he felt like he had suffered 10,000 points of damage. From his point of view, no matter how much of a genius Ling Han was, he was still an ordinary person. In front of the Jin family's foundation, he was insignificant. Thus, he had a strong sense of superiority. But now, that sense of superiority was completely useless. Ling Han, do you know what kind of situation you're in? Jin Shaojian suppressed his anger and asked in a low voice. Isn't it obvious? Ling Han laughed. I'm sitting in the imperial prison. So you know. Jin Shaojian snorted. You're really daring. You even dared to kill the empire's city lord. Do you know that you're already a corpse waiting for your sentence? Ling Han looked at him and said, Can you save me? Of course. Jin Shaojian said proudly. Finally, he got to the point. Come, beg me. Ling Han looked at Jin Shaojian. Was there a power like the Jin family in the capital? The four marshals weren't surnamed Jin, nor was the head of conference. It was even more impossible for the Hong family. Then who else could go against senior tutor Hong and fish him out of the imperial prison? Wait a minute, when he was buying the materials for the Formation Foundation, he had met someone called Jin Sanyin. Hey! This Jin Shaojian couldn't be related to Jin Sanyin, right? Ling Han was curious. What right do you have to fish me out? What right do you have to go against senior tutor Hong? You don't even know how strong our Jin family is. Jin Shaojian snorted. Even 10 senior tutors together aren't worthy of carrying shoes for our Jin family. So powerful. Ling Han's heart shook. Was this a hidden family? They weren't famous, but they didn't even put engravement realm experts in their eyes. Yep, if he could fish them out properly. Ling Han smiled and said, I don't believe it. Since they're so strong, why haven't I heard of them before? Reading on mobile phones is more refreshing. Chapter 3388. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Cixi Qi Liandong arrived first. Seeing dozens of people approach aggressively, the guards of the prison instantly tensed up. F***CK, someone actually wanted to raid the prison? This was unprecedented. Stop. A captain was forced to appear, holding a spear in his hand as he shouted, This is the forbidden area of the prison. Unrelated people are not allowed to approach. Qi Liandong humphed and said, I am the president of the Alchemy Association headquarters, Qi Liandong. Do you dare to stop me? The captain jumped in fright. The president of the Alchemy Association headquarters, what an awesome big shot. However, was it real or fake? He secretly searched for Qi Liandong's information on his optical computer, and a photo immediately popped up. As expected, it was the appearance of the old man in front of him. However, in this day and age, just a resemblance did not mean it was real. Makeup and disguise techniques could completely pass off the fake as the real one. The captain smiled and said, May I ask what Lord is doing here? This was the prison, not a place for alchemists to appear. What? Qi Liandong smiled coldly. I want someone. You came to the prison to ask for someone? F***ck, you want to raid the prison? Lord, don't joke around. The captain wiped his cold sweat and hurriedly contacted his superiors. This was the president of the Alchemy Association headquarters, not someone he could afford to offend. I'm joking with you. Qi Liandong laughed coldly. Are you worthy? He was not usually so aggressive, but who asked Ling Han to be imprisoned here? How could he still have a good temper? The captain could only swallow this slap in the face. Who asked him to be so weak in front of a Grandmaster alchemist? However, guarding the prison was his duty, and he would not allow Qi Liandong to barge in to fish someone out. He hurriedly said, May I know who Lord is looking for? He would try to stall for time. As long as he could stall until the people from above arrived, he would have nothing to do. Ling Han, Qi Liandong said in a low voice. I'll give you 10 minutes. I want to see the person, or else I'll have to force my way in. Lord, please calm down, please calm down. The captain hurriedly smiled apologetically, but in his heart, he was screaming why the people from above hadn't arrived yet. He said all he could to deal with Qi Liandong, saying that he had already sent someone to communicate with him, and asked Qi Liandong to wait. After a while, the supervisor of the imperial prison finally arrived. Shi Boyi, an extreme bone realm expert, had been guarding the imperial prison for 7 years. Lord Qi. The moment Shi Boyi appeared, he ran towards Qi Liandong with a warm smile on his face. Qi Liandong ignored them. Even if the 4 marshals and senior tutor Hong were to come, he wouldn't give them any face, let alone the ultimate bone realm experts and the heavenly dragon head. This was the transcendence of alchemists. Lord Qi, what's wrong? Who made you unhappy? Shi Boyi asked with a smile. Qi Liandong sneered and said, My patience has run out. Release Ling Han now, or I'll bring him out myself. Sir, aren't you making things difficult for me? Shi Boyi spread out his hands. Ling Han is a felon sent over by senior tutor Hong, and Sir Yang has also said that without his orders, no one is allowed to meet Ling Han privately. If you want me to release him, I really can't do anything about it. Then scram to the side. Don't be a hindrance, Qi Liandong snorted, extremely domineering. All the alchemists were secretly pleased. Although they did have to lower themselves when refining pills for others, it was definitely not as flashy as it was now. As expected of the president, awesome and domineering. How could Shi Boyi just sit back and watch? He was the supervisor of the imperial prison. If he just watched as others broke into the prison, he wouldn't just be scolded. This was a dereliction of duty, and he would be punished for it. Sir, please calm down. Let's first inform the elder of this matter. He stopped Qi Liandong. No matter what, he couldn't let the other party break into the prison. Fortunately, although Qi Liandong was a 4-star alchemist, on the same level as the 4 marshals, his battle prowess was only at the extreme bone realm. With the battle prowess of an alchemist, he could block it. Qi Liandong was so angry that his beard was trembling. A mere warden actually dared to stop him. Bastard. The old man blew his beard and glared, extremely frustrated. Old man Qi, what's wrong? An aged voice rang out. Qi Liandong was startled and turned to look. Wasn't this Chen Hao's old rival? However, this time, Qi Liandong didn't get angry. Instead, he felt that reinforcements had arrived. He hurriedly said, Old man Chen, did you also come because you received news from Ling Han? Of course. He's the person I value the most, Chen Hao said proudly. Chen Hao proudly said. He and Qi Liandong had been fighting for their entire lives, competing in everything. But now, he finally had the upper hand. That was because Qi Liandong clearly couldn't break through. Alchemists were trash. Then blast this place open for me. Qi Liandong roared angrily. He had been stopped by Shi Boyi time and time again, and he was already furious. Old man Qi, are you begging me? Chen Hao said smugly. Ling Han is locked inside. See for yourself. Qi Liandong snorted. Thinking of Ling Han, Chen Hao couldn't be bothered to argue with Qi Liandong anymore. He shouted, set up the formation. The array master he'd brought immediately began setting up the foundation of the formation. Shi Boyi watched with trepidation. No matter how troublesome an alchemist was, his destructive power was limited. At the same level, alchemists were trash. It was normal for them to be defeated by someone who was 2 or 3 minor realms higher. But array masters were different. Once the formation was set up, it was normal for someone who was 2 or 3 minor realms higher to defeat their opponent. However, who would give the array master enough time to set up the formation during a battle? But the problem now was, would he dare to initiate an attack on an array master? Attacking an array master? Haha, that would be enough to kill him. You want to say that Chen Hao and the others attacked the prison? What a joke, they didn't even activate the formation. Weren't they just playing around? Shi Boyi gritted his teeth and said, "Sirs, please calm down. I'll let Ling Han out right now." Letting Ling Han out was better than raising the prison, right? Moreover, the 2 presidents had joined hands to demand for Ling Han. Their reputation was no greater than senior Grand Tutor Hong's. How lowly. "You won't listen to my kind words," Qi Liandong said coldly. "That's because you don't have enough face." Chen Hao took the opportunity to attack. Shi Boyi was speechless. He made an inviting gesture and led the 2 presidents into the prison. Of course, even if he was given 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare to make a move in the prison and capture the 2 presidents to threaten the alchemists and array masters outside. The 3 of them entered the prison. Under Shi Boyi's lead, they walked all the way to Ling Han's cell. The imperial prison was actually not that big, because there were not many people who were qualified to enter the imperial prison. Moreover, the current emperor was so wise and powerful, he would not create any unjust prison, and not many people would dare to rebel, so there was absolutely no need for a big place. Soon, they arrived at Ling Han's cell. Tchem. Jin Shaojian turned to look. What was going on? Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3389. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. Although Jin Shaojian was very arrogant, his knowledge was definitely not ordinary. How could he not recognize Qi Liandong and Chen Hao? What were these 2 doing here? Jin Shaojian actually did not take Qi Liandong and Chen Hao seriously, but he had to admit that in Xianbei country, these 2 could definitely be considered important figures. Thus, it was very strange for these 2 important figures to enter the imperial prison hand in hand. This was not a place to eat or gather. Could it be? A guess flashed through his mind, but he immediately shook his head. How could that be possible? Chen Ph, who said that without Yang Bai's permission, no one can see Ling Han? Qi Liandong also saw Jin Shaojian, and immediately pointed at him as he asked Shi Boyi, "Then who is this important person?" Shi Boyi was also a little confused. He did not know this person. But the problem was, if this person did not have some background, how could he appear here with such a leisurely expression, as if this was his own backyard? He was really troubled. Just who was this Ling Han, and why had he alarmed so many people? "Who are you?" Shi Boyi shouted at Jin Shaojian. "You don't need to know who this young master is." "I am not qualified," Jin Shaojian said calmly. Shi Boyi instantly exploded in anger. This was his territory, and this person dared to usurp the host's position. But before he could fly into a rage, Qi Liandong pressed him down and said, "Stop talking nonsense and release him immediately." Shi Boyi felt that he was a complete tragedy. Logically speaking, this was his territory, and he should be the one in charge. But now, both of them were looking down on him. How could he endure this? There was no helping it. Who asked these 2 to be masters? He waved his hand and said to the guard, "Open the door and release him." Jin Shaojian looked on, but did not say anything. He was clearly very surprised. No wonder Ling Han was so confident. So it turned out that he had the support of the 2 presidents. He sneered. They were only 4-star alchemists and formation masters. In the previous civilization, they were nothing. It was only now that the great Tao had awakened, and everything was starting from zero. That was why 4-star alchemists and formation masters were being praised so highly. Count yourself lucky this time. Jin Shaojian threw a few words at Ling Han before swaggering off. If it weren't for Qi Liandong and Jin Shaojian's presence, Shi Boyi would definitely have rushed up and grabbed Jin Shaojian, asking him who he was and who had let him in. However, with the two guild leaders present, Shi Boyi didn't have the heart to bother with Jin Shaojian. He only hoped that these two guild leaders would leave as soon as possible. Ling Han chuckled. Jin family? He would remember it. He walked out of the cell and nodded at Qi Liandong and the other two. Thank you, presidents. You didn't suffer much, did you? Qi Liandong quickly asked. If anyone dares mistreat you, I'll tear them to pieces, said Chen Hao viciously. Shi Boyi was immediately alarmed, afraid that Ling Han would say something bad about him. Ling Han smiled and said, the food is good, the accommodation is good, and it's quiet here. I'll just take it as a vacation and rest. That's good, then. The two guild leaders smiled in unison. Let's go. The three of them left, and Shi Boyi began to investigate who had let Jin Shaojian in, and whether this place was still under his control. Ling Han first went to the Array Guild headquarters because it was close by. He decided to get certified as a Grandmaster level Array Master. What? You've reached Grandmaster level? Chen Hao was pleasantly surprised. Ling Han nodded, and said, I'll give it a try. He didn't promise too much. However, under the witness of several dozen Array Masters, he successfully created a Grandmaster level Array Foundation, and successfully set it up and activated it. When he created the 33 layers Vajra array, he had actually already stepped into Grandmaster level. Qi Liandong was very jealous, and said, Brat, you've spent so much time on Array Dao that you've even neglected alchemy. Ling Han smiled, and said, how could that be? Let's go to the Alchemy Guild headquarters. I'll get certified as a Grandmaster level alchemist. That's fine too. Everyone was speechless. You're too freakish, aren't you? Who would go and get certified as a Grandmaster level Array Master right after? Freakish is freakish. Ling Han went to the Alchemy Guild headquarters and successfully refined a cauldron of 4-star pills. This meant that he had reached the pinnacle of alchemy, and could stand shoulder to shoulder with Qi Liandong. With these two identities, would anyone in Xianbei country dare to touch him? Senior Tutor Hong's status was only comparable to his. Considering that Ling Han was an Array Master and an alchemist at the same time, even someone like Senior Tutor Hong paled in comparison to him. Ling Han returned to the academy. The amount of time he could stay here could be counted on his fingers. Dad, that Senior Tutor Hong is too despicable. Eldest baby immediately cried out. We can't let it go just like that. Second baby also said. Beat him up. Seventh baby said, but immediately yawned. Let me sleep for a while. I'll wake up when the fight starts. Pa, she collapsed, and fell asleep as soon as she said she would. Ling Han nodded. We can't just swallow this loss. However, it's not appropriate to fight Senior Tutor Hong head-on. After all, this is Xianbei country. We still have to stay here for a while. He thought about it. The Hong family should have a lot of business. Tonight, we'll destroy all of their businesses. Yes, yes. The group of babies immediately became excited. They were too passionate about destroying things. Ling Han first contacted Shenyuan Dinghua and asked him to list out all of the Hong family's businesses. Shenyuan Dinghua was definitely more familiar with this. Several major powers fought openly and covertly, and Shenyuan Dinghua was definitely familiar with the Hong family's information. As expected, Shenyuan Dinghua didn't hesitate and immediately sent the information over. After that, Shenyuan Dinghua exclaimed, Weren't you locked up in the heavenly prison? Yes, I just got out. Ling Han smiled. How did you get out? Shenyuan Dinghua was shocked. You didn't escape, did you? Escape your head. Ling Han scolded. Then, he said, I'll find you for a drink in 2 days. After that, he turned off the optical computer. He turned back to look at the babies and said, Move out tonight. Everyone else, go into the gourd and let 6th baby lead them. We want the Hong family to know that we did it, but they won't be able to get any evidence. We'll make them depressed. The milk babies were all excited. They loved destroying things the most. F*ck them. 7th baby mumbled. So he was talking in his sleep. Sigh, was this group of brats led astray by him? Ling Han couldn't help but reflect on himself. That night, Sixth baby took advantage of the darkness to move out with the gourd. They came to the Hong family's first business and found a secluded corner to let them out. Then, they immediately began to destroy. After settling one place, they went to another. In just one night, they destroyed 13 of the Hong family's businesses. There were no deaths. They were all knocked unconscious and nothing was seen. Early the next morning, Senior Tutor Hong received the news. Bang! He struck out with his palm, and the desk beneath him instantly shattered into pieces. Ling Han. He gritted his teeth and cursed. Reading on the phone is more refreshing. Chapter 3390. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Senior Tutor Hong was certain that this was all done by Ling Han. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? Oh, Ling Han had just been released from the imperial prison, and the Hong family's business had been in trouble that night. However, he could not produce any evidence. There were surveillance cameras in every corner of the capital, and it was clear that Ling Han had not left the academy. Since he had not left, how could he have caused damage? But Senior Tutor Hong was certain that even if Ling Han did not do it himself, he had ordered someone else to do it. This fellow only knew a few people in the capital. Senior Tutor Hong immediately sent people to investigate. As long as he caught the troublemaker last night, he would be able to follow the clues and find Ling Han. He would definitely not let Ling Han off. But after 3 days, he still could not find the troublemaker that night. There was not even a single clue. It was as if these people had appeared out of thin air, or perhaps they were invisible. None of the surveillance cameras had detected anything out of the ordinary. Senior Tutor Hong was helpless and could only focus on the matter of Ling Han killing the governor of the empire. But Yang Bai quickly responded. It was indeed Yu Yi who had caused trouble first. Of course, it would have been better if Ling Han had not killed him. No matter what, it was definitely wrong for Ling Han to kill the city lord of the empire. But considering that he was already a Grandmaster level array master and an alchemist, with his dual identities, even Yang Bai would not dare to do anything to Ling Han. To sentence Ling Han, only the emperor himself could do so. Otherwise, even the eldest prince and the second prince, who were highly ranked princes, would not be able to do anything to him. This meant that Ling Han had easily covered up this matter. Senior Tutor Hong was speechless. Now that Ling Han had the protection of a Grandmaster array master and an alchemist, even he could not do anything to him. As long as such a person did not commit treason and the emperor did not say anything, who would dare to do anything to him? However, Ling Han's counterattack did not stop there. Not only did he destroy all of the Hong family's businesses once, he would also destroy any of the Hong family's businesses that were rebuilt. This kind of small matter could be left to sixth baby, so there was no need to worry about a gourd floating in the air and arousing suspicion. When the news spread, everyone knew that it was Ling Han who did it. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? However, no one could directly link Ling Han to the troublemaker. This made the people of the imperial capital surprised. How did Ling Han do it? On the first day, the Hong family wasn't on guard. But from the second day onwards, every property of the Hong family was heavily guarded. Not only were the properties destroyed, but they didn't even see a single person. This was too strange. Ling Han did not think much of it. Anyway, this had already become sixth baby's daily routine. When he was happy, he would make a fuss. When he was unhappy, he would make a fuss. With the help of the array and elixirs, Ling Han calculated that he would need about 3 months to reach the peak of the 7 changes. Previously, he had broken through too many shackles, and his life level had increased to a terrifying level. This gave him a lot of room for improvement. Therefore, without the windfall, he would need a whole 3 months to reach the peak. Just as Ling Han was searching for information about the new historical sites, something big happened. It was really something big, and it was closely related to him. The demon race sent out an envoy again, but this time, it was not a peaceful visit. Instead, it was an ultimatum. Hand over Ling Han, or else, see you on the battlefield. It was simple, but very domineering. This caused a huge uproar in the imperial capital. Why did the demon race value Ling Han so much? In terms of monstrous talent, Hong Tianbu was not inferior to Ling Han at all. Previously, he had defeated the demon race's fifth prince even though he was an entire realm above him. But the demon race did not want Hong Tianbu, but only wanted Ling Han. Why? When Ling Han heard the news, he immediately guessed that it was because of the demon monkey fist. The demon race coveted the demon monkey fist, so they wanted to capture him and torture out the secrets of the demon monkey fist. But no matter what the demon race wanted with Ling Han, their threat was real. Hand over Ling Han or not. If not, they would fight. The demon race had already displayed their powerful strength. This was a real threat. Once a war broke out, let alone whether the Xianbei country could withstand it, it would at least be an incomparably difficult battle. Who knew how many people would die? And what if they lost? The Xianbei country would become the demon race's paradise, and all humans would become the demon race's slaves and even their food. But what if it was just Ling Han sacrificing himself? Many people immediately made suggestions to the imperial court, hoping that Ling Han would step forward and sacrifice himself for the greater good. These people spoke eloquently, saying that Ling Han's source was already damaged, and it was impossible for him to break through to the ultimate bone realm. Then, if he could sacrifice a blood transformation realm warrior in exchange for peace, why not do it? Why must tens of thousands of soldiers bleed and be sacrificed? They were all pressuring Ling Han with righteousness, wanting Ling Han to sacrifice himself for the masses. Of course, there were also many who objected. That was, Ling Han was now a Grandmaster Alchemist and a Ray Master. So what if his source was destroyed? It would not affect his monstrous talent. What if the demon race also took a fancy to Ling Han, and sent him to the Yu dynasty to teach array skills and alchemy? Finally, there were the warmongers. They submitted a petition, requesting war with the demon race. The sage emperor was in seclusion, and no one could report to him. The decision on this matter fell to the head of the council, Yang Bai. To hand it over, or not to hand it over? That was the question. Yang Bai felt a headache coming on. He felt that Ling Han was really a troublemaker. The matter of killing the empire's city lord had not been completely resolved, and this guy was now being targeted by the demon race. Couldn't he just settle down a little? Yang Bai didn't make a decision lightly. This wasn't a joking matter. If he handed over the man, he could avoid a war, but Xianbei country's reputation would naturally fall to rock bottom. Moreover, the demon race had tasted the sweetness of victory, and would continue to threaten them in the future. But if he did not hand over the man, there would be a bloody war that would ensue. 100 years ago, when the world first changed, monsters appeared in large numbers, causing a catastrophe for mankind. At least 99% of the people died, and now not even a tenth had recovered. Another bloody war was about to ensue. Who knew how many people would die? Yang Bai did not dare to make this decision lightly. He immediately contacted the four marshals and the high-ranking princes to discuss the matter. However, Ling Han was already forbidden from leaving the academy. The meaning was clear. They were afraid that if they made the decision to hand over the man, Ling Han would run away and not be able to complete the task. Ling Han sneered. If he really wanted to escape, all he had to do was enter the spirit-nourishing gourd and let sixth baby carry him away. Who would find out? He wanted to see what the final result would be. If they handed over the man, then he would leave immediately. If it was the other way around, then he would stay and fight the demon race together. The four great commanders and the princes who were ranked highly were currently rushing back, but they needed time, at least 4 or 5 days. During this period of time, there were many people who continuously jumped about, not feeling the slightest bit restless. They wanted to create pressure from public opinion, to form public opinion before a decision was made. Cell phone reading was more refreshing. Chapter 3392. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Sisijin Sanyin was slightly taken aback. Were they talking about him? But Ling Han hadn't named him, so he naturally couldn't put his face on it. Although Chen Fengyang is extraordinary, the demon race has no lack of experts. There must be someone who can fight against him, he said. He didn't look favorably on Chen Fengyang. Ling Han chuckled. This old man had been preaching about the strength of the demon race. It seemed that it had penetrated deep into his bones, and he couldn't help but become a slave. I have full faith in His Majesty. The demon race is nothing to him. Jin Sanyin stared at Ling Han for a while before saying, "Young friend, once you make your decision, it will be impossible to save you after you are sent to the demon race." "I made my own decision, so I naturally won't regret it," said Ling Han. "Fine. If that's the case, then I won't disturb you any longer." Jin Sanyin's figure flashed, and he left angrily. In his view, Ling Han had already fallen into a desperate situation. As long as he extended a helping hand, Ling Han would definitely eagerly grab it and ask for any conditions. But Ling Han was actually so stubborn. He had not expected this, and was also very displeased. He didn't kill Ling Han for 2 reasons. First, the purpose of the hidden family was to keep a low profile as much as possible. Second, he was still hoping that Ling Han would lower his head. This boy had outstanding attainments in alchemy and arrays, and he really wanted to recruit him into the Jin family. With a super support and that innate divine body, the Jin family could rise in the coming era. But things didn't seem to be going well. Ling Han refused to submit, and that innate divine body couldn't be found. Was this some kind of warning from the heavens to the Jin family? "Father, let's kill our way out. Eldest baby was murderous." "Yes, let's kill them all," said fourth baby. "Kill until the ground is covered in blood," said fifth baby. "Girls shouldn't kill all day. Be reserved," said Ling Han with a smile. All the Calabash brothers rolled their eyes at Ling Han. What was being reserved? They had never heard of such a thing. "Dad, what do you plan to do?" second baby asked. She was also the most rational of the 7 children, although she was terrible at counting. Ling Han smiled. "Let's see what Yang Bai and the others decide first." He believed that if Chen Fengyang came out of seclusion, there was no doubt that this Saint Emperor would start a war without hesitation. If he didn't even have this bit of aggressiveness, what kind of Saint Emperor was he? But under Chen Fengyang, the other people's horizons were smaller. Therefore, he really could not be sure what the final outcome would be. The night passed, and early in the morning, someone knocked on the door. The little maidservant went to open the door. Immediately, 3 imperial guards barged in, led by Jiyu Xiangming. "Where's Ling Han?" Jiyu Xiangming asked proudly. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. The little maid said weakly, "Why are you looking for young master?" "What?" Jiyu Xiangming sneered. "I was ordered to arrest her." Huan Shui was shocked and said hurriedly, "Young master didn't commit any crime. Why are you arresting him? Whether he committed a crime or not is not up to you." Jiyu Xiangming sneered and waved his hand. "Hurry up and call him out. Don't waste our precious time." He walked forward directly. Huan Shui tried to stop him, but how could she? She was only at the first transformation, but Jiyu Xiangming was at the 4th transformation. There was a huge gap between their strength. "Stop! Stop!" She hurriedly chased after him. Clang! Clang! The other 2 imperial guards pulled out the sabers at their waists at the same time and stared at Huan Shui coldly. If she dared to take another step forward, they would brandish their sabers and kill her. What a joke! The imperial guards were ordered to do something. Who dared to stop them? They could kill without mercy. Huan Shui was anxious. How could she care less? She immediately charged forward. The 2 imperial guards snorted and slashed at her with their sabers. Clang! 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 The 3 immediately started fighting. Fortunately, Huan Shui was not weak. She could hold on for a while. Moreover, there were 7 Calabash brothers. They would not let anything happen to her. Jiyu Xiangming walked towards the main hall. A smile appeared at the corners of his mouth, and then his smile grew wider and wider. Ling Han's reputation grew. Not only did he win first place in the great hunting competition, he repeatedly defeated the geniuses of the Yarrow race. Later on, he was even crowned with the titles of Grandmaster Alchemist and Formation Master. With this kind of halo, he had thought that it would be impossible for him to take revenge in this lifetime. He did not even dare to make an enemy out of Ling Han. If he ran into Ling Han in the future, he could only take a detour. Unexpectedly, the yarrow race had actually helped him greatly. Now, several important figures had plans to hand over Ling Han, and if Ling Han entered the yarrow race, would he still have a good life? Thus, he came impatiently. He wanted to personally escort Ling Han back. He believed that this kind of pleasure would make him excited for a few days. Ha ha ha, Ling Han, oh, Ling Han, you have finally fallen into my hands. Ling Han, hurry up and follow me, get lost. Peng, Jiyu Xiangming was instantly sent flying like a cannonball. His entire body was embedded into a wall. His retreating momentum was finally exhausted, but at least 10 bones in his body were broken. He could not move a finger at all. Jiyu Xiangming was both shocked and angry. Ling Han's strength was indeed heaven-defying. They were both at the blood transformation realm, but why was the difference so great? Most importantly, Ling Han actually dared to attack. He was the captain of the Imperial Guards. What did this status mean? Even people like Senior Tutor Hong did not dare to do anything to him, or else it would be disrespectful to the royal family. But Ling Han was merciless, and he attacked without the slightest bit of hesitation. Aya, this big idiot. Doesn't he know that Dad needs to cultivate in the morning? Eldest baby appeared. She leaned against the wall with a smile, and did not have the slightest intention of helping or pulling him out. Serves you right. Third baby said proudly. Come, let's draw. Second baby waved his little hand. Other than third baby, the other milk babies rushed forward one after another. They dipped their brushes in ink and started drawing on Jiyu Xiangming's face. Jiyu Xiangming was both embarrassed and angry. His face was being used as a canvas. How could he endure such humiliation? But he did not have any strength now. How could he stop them? Soon, his face was covered with all kinds of things. Jiyu Xiangming was about to go crazy. This time, he was clearly here to escort Ling Han. Why did he end up like this before he could show off his might? If he had known this would happen, he would not have asked for permission to come. Ling Han did not care. He focused on cultivating. This half an hour of cultivation every day was very important. Even the treasure fruit of heaven and earth lacked something special. Only the power of heaven and earth had it. This was the foundation of cultivation. Therefore, it was fine to use the treasure fruit to increase one's cultivation, but one could not neglect the most basic cultivation. This was precisely the foundation. Half an hour later, Ling Han called it a day. He was under a lot of pressure now. The demons were threatening him, and it was very likely that he would have to flee. Naturally, he needed powerful strength. Jiyu Xiangming, you're really despicable. Reading on the phone is more refreshing. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.